Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast superhero edition. Today, we have a very special episode for you. We recently went to go see the Batman on Thursday with the crew, had a great time. And today, we have our Batman expert, Martin, here to discuss what he liked about the movie, what he didn't like about the movie, and just various other things on the Batman. So, how are you doing today, sir?
Good, man. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. I had a productive Saturday watching some Batwoman before this, so we're good.
Oh, so you were getting extra bat stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, all right. But we were just talking about off camera, like, I only come out once a year so far. I come out on Batman Day. Last year I took people's questions, which I'll probably do again this year because that let me research and all that. So that was really fun. But this time I get to come out again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We love having you as our Batman expert.
Thank you. Thank you.
You ready to kick this off?
Oh yeah, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So, how did this movie come to be? Because I know a lot of people may not remember that Ben Affleck was supposed to have a solo movie, and then this came out. So, how did this all transpire? How did we get this Batman version?
All right. Forewarning, guys, if you've listened to my Batman stuff, you know I'm a detailed Batman nerd, so this is actually going to be pretty detailed. And another warning, if you haven't seen the Batman or you don't care about spoilers, you should probably not listen to this. But this will probably be out. We'll probably be out of spoiler territory when this comes out because people already started spoiling it today. So we'll be out of spoiler territory. But if you're going to wait, that's fine. I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but there are going to be parts of the movie that forewarn spoilers. But back to the captain's question. Yeah, man, I think people don't realize that this movie was not the movie that was supposed to be made at all. Like, right. Which is a thing of DC's problems that you and I have talked about ad nauseum in our superhero things with like DC and
I love WB.
Right. And you can't talk about this movie without talking about Ben Affleck, who Ben Affleck was cast as Batman in 2013. Obviously, if you want to even go further in timeline, this was 2012 when The Dark Knight Rises ended, did its run, and Warner Brothers offered Christian Bale $50 million to come back. Him and Nolan said they did their 3, they're done. So obviously, yeah. So we get Ben Affleck. Initially, people were like, what the hell, Ben Affleck, yada, yada, yada. 3 years later, Dawn of Justice comes out and made a lot of money, made over $800 million. Critics didn't like it, got like a 26 on Rotten Tomatoes. But they did praise Ben's performance as Batman, and it had the warehouse scene, which is the best fight scene in a Batman movie still to date.
Yeah, that warehouse scene goes hard.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best scene that a Batman fighting wise, and there's been some really good ones, but that is the best one with the music and all of that. So right after he's getting praised, like the president at that time, the CEO, Kevin Tirashara, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. He said, oh, yeah, we're announcing a solo Batman movie. And also Ben Affleck cameoed in Suicide Squad. He cameoed at the beginning and he cameoed in the post-credit scene with Amanda Waller getting the Justice League. So Ben was actually supposed to star, co-direct, co-write his movie in 2017 with Jeff Johns. Like they were supposed to make that together, but Ben stepped down. So that's how we got Matt Reeves into DC. People who know Matt Reeves, the Planet of the Apes movies, for more people knowing him. So if Ben doesn't step down, Matt Reeves never becomes a director in these Batman movies potentially going forward. Also, 2017, Whedon's Justice League came out. We already know what happened. Zack Snyder was directing. His daughter committed suicide. A very tragic thing. Whedon took over. And that movie was not well received, and it did not make the money it should have made with the whole Justice League. Whedon's reshoots, you've already seen it, the problems with Whedon and Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, just a whole bunch of problems. The $1 million to $2 million mustache CGI with Superman, just a lot of problems. So that was in 2017. So then it gets quiet. Everyone's like, oh, we're waiting for the Ben Affleck movie. Ben Affleck even tweeted Matt Reeves, welcome to the Batcave. Like things of that. Then 2019, out of nowhere on IGN, it's just reports coming out. There's going to be a new Batman with no explanation from Ben or DC. Everything's just super quiet. And we're just like, oh, there's going to be a new Batman for the Batman movie. And we're like, what? There was a lot of questions that were asked, like what's happening? When are we going to hear from somebody? but mostly it was about Ben. He was dealing with personal issues at that time. His alcoholism was starting to come back. His divorce slash now separation slash was living in the same house with the mother and former wife, Jennifer Gardner. Like there's just a whole bunch that he was going on with. And also it came out a couple of years later. He didn't like the Justice League experience with Josh Whedon. But then he was working on the script. He showed it to one of his friends. This was one of the quotes from his friends. He told Ben the movie was going to be really good, but Ben would drink himself to death. So then we're just like, all right, who's going to be Batman? So then it comes out that it's between two people, Robert Pattinson and Nicholas Hoult. For people who don't know Nicholas Hoult, he is actually Beast from the younger X-Men. So like First Class, Days of Futures Past, like he's that young Beast, not the old Beast from the present timeline. So it comes down to those two. And then May 2019, Robert Pattinson beat Nicholas Hoult. And it was very close. Like it was down to the wire. And then they picked Pattinson. So then we get to 2020, still confused. August, Ben's coming back to do Flash. So we're like, wait, what? So Ben's going to be in the Flash. And I know I put in the notes that we still have not seen him in any trailers for the Flash or seen him comment on like the Flash movie, but he's listed in it. So he also came back to do reshoots and stuff for Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is a superior Justice League, the movie that should have been in theaters. It is what it is. And if that movie would have been in theaters and that experience, you can't foresee your daughter committing suicide. If that didn't happen, Ben Affleck's probably still Batman because he loves that.
Yep.
So then it's like, okay, for people who know DC, all right, maybe multiversal thing, who knows? Or maybe Flash's movie is going to change things in Flashpoint to make Robert the DCEU Batman, whatever. So then 2021, Batman's supposed to come out on June 25th. Then it got pushed back to October 1st, 2021. Then to the March 4th, 2022, all because of COVID. I mean, COVID was pushing back everyone's movies. From another movie, we saw how many times Black Widow got pushed back because of COVID and all the other, the shuffling and stuff. So then we got to March 4th. March 4th. And here we are. The movie finally came out. And just additional things about this movie. This was not the script that Ben Affleck gave to DC and Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves changed it completely, which is another thing that we'll talk about later, that Ben's movie, which had everyone excited, was supposed to be Ben Affleck versus Joe's Deathstroke. For people who know Joe from Magic Mike, Sofia Vergara's husband, like he was in the Zack Snyder Justice League and the Whedon Justice League at the end. So that's what it was supposed to be. So think of like Arkham Origins with Batman versus Deathstroke, that fight scene, best one-on-one fight scene in the Arkham games. That was supposed to be the movie, which that pissed a lot of people off because everyone wanted that movie. Shoot, I want that movie. So then
I want that movie.
So then you have people talking about like HBO Max and all that stuff, but we can't do anything if Ben's not on board. But I don't know what Joe's contract is, but that was the movie that was supposed to be made. They changed it to this Batman who was in his second year. Like I said, Matt Reeves stuff. And if Ben stays, Pattinson never gets casted.
That is true. Very interesting timeline.
It's crazy because a lot of people don't. They just like, oh, new Bat. Like there was a lot that went to where we're at right now with this movie.
Yeah, because I know we've talked about it like in our various group chats, but I never remembered like most of this stuff, like how Ben, was supposed to direct and star in, his Batman movie versus Deathstroke, and then how he stepped down, and then Matt Reeves took over. Definitely didn't know that. I guess now that you mention it, seeing how the script changed to what it is, the movie it is today. So very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So when they announced this movie, a new Batman movie without Ben Affleck, what were your initial thoughts?
Here we go again. And the reason I say that is because DC's had some issues with like recasting. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like he was supposed to be on, he's supposed to get a solo movie. I mean, his solo movie was going to do well. Critics be damned. It was going to make a lot of money. It was going to be Batman versus Deathstroke. It was going to make a whole bunch of money. They would have got a sequel. So I was confused, like, all right, what happened? And then obviously, like I talked about, like the personal issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, all right, so now we need to find someone else. And then that point, just shouting out MCU, it made you appreciate Marvel more because they
Mm-hmm.
were able to keep the original six for 10 plus, almost 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So like a no recasting. The only big recasting they had was Terrence, and for like the roadie switch, that's the only like big recasting.
That's true. But Marvel has been very consistent with that, and I hope they continue with that. So now you found out they're making this movie, and they recast it. So what were your thoughts when you found out that it wouldn't star Ben Affleck?
I was disappointed because Ben Affleck will go down currently in history as the only person to play Batman on live action who does not get a solo movie.
It's so strange to see that
It's
we have all
never,
these solo Batman movies, but we'll never have a solo. Well, potentially could never have a solo Batman movie with Ben Affleck.
and it's crazy. And you can even go back to 1943 with Lewis Wilson, 1949, Robert Lowry. Obviously, we know Adam West, Michael Keaton, Van
Mm-hmm.
Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, and then Robert Pattinson. So that is 8 out of the 9 live action Batman have always had their own movie. Ben Affleck will be the only one who does not get his own movie, that's bad. And I was also disappointed too, because like I've told you guys, like I'm in a whole bunch of groups. I've been a moderator in Batman groups and all that. Ben
Mm-hmm.
Affleck is a very popular amongst Batman fans. He definitely has I don't even want to call it a cult following anymore. It's a real following because, as a lot of people say, he's the most imposing because he's just taller than all the people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the suit was the old gray, and he's comic book accurate, like he's the most comic book accurate Batman, which I push back on that because he's in the most comic accurate world. Like if everyone else
Mm-hmm.
was in the world with Superman and all that stuff, they'd be the most comic accurate person too. But all these other ones were in their own stuff and grounded and stuff like that. But I wanted him to get a solo movie because I felt like his stuff was unfinished. And it
Yeah.
made me more mad last year when the Schneider cut came out because you saw that Batman was Batman. Like
Yeah.
Schneider cut Bruce Wayne is like that made you want more. Shout out to Release the Schneider cut. We covered that too.
Yeah, we have a whole podcast on the new Snyder Cut movie. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to it. Very interesting stuff we go over. But definitely after watching that, the new reshoots with Snyder, I definitely wanted Ben Affleck to get his solo movie because you can see there's a huge difference between the Josh Whedon version and this version. Definitely, hopefully, with whatever Flashpoint they're going to do, hopefully Ben can come back in, get his well-deserved solo movie after the Snyder Cut. So Robert Pattinson wins a role. What were your thoughts on that? Because I know when I first found out, I wasn't the hugest fan because of the whole Twilight movies. I'll come out and say that on the podcast. So what were your thoughts?
Your statement was valid because you always think about the last big thing a Batman person did, or like in any of these superhero roles, like when Heath Ledger got announced, they're like the guy from Brokeback Mountain, like things like that. So when Robert Pattinson got announced, I was like, okay, the guy from Twilight. And then obviously he's had his independent thing. Like after Twilight, he's gone like under the radar. He was in Tenet, I believe. He was in Tenet with Chris Nolan. So it's like, all right. So I mean, so it's one of those things like when you get older, it's just like you stop like just getting mad about it. And you're just like, well, let's see what he does. Like as long as the person doesn't have like sexual assault allegations pending or like murder pending, it's just like, all right, let's see what he gets in the role. Let's see what he does. The only time I ever got slightly pissed at Pattinson, and which he did say he was joking, but that joke caused him a lot of stress, is when he said he wasn't going to work out. That was a huge problem with a whole bunch of Batman people, a whole bunch of superhero people, because now you got to look like a superhero in some way to do these roles. But he was joking. That was the only time. But I was just like, let's just wait and see. Like, I didn't want to jump on him because every time we jump on somebody, it's like, oh, and then they do well. It's like you look. So just wait and see.
Yep. I'll definitely wait and see. So before the movie came out, February 28th, Rotten Tomatoes scored it with a 91% with 120 reviews, and IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, which is unusual for IGN because they usually give out scores like 8, 8.5. Were you shocked that it was getting high praise like that?
Yes. And currently, right now, as of Saturday, March 5th, the Batman is at 85 on Rotten Tomatoes with 352 reviews and a 91 audience score with 5,000 plus verified ratings. I was very shocked because a lot of DC fans feel like they get shafted by these ratings and IGN especially, and how they only coddle to Marvel. So, I mean, that's a real thing that people really like. I see it all the time on my threads and all of that. I'm like, I don't think that's true, but I was shocked that it was that high to start and still high now. The 10 out of 10, I was really shocked because I don't remember them giving a DC movie like that in a long time. So I was very shocked, but then I was also a little bit concerned because if people remember when Batman v Superman, the original one, not even the Ultimate Edition, came out, people were calling that movie like the greatest comic book movie of all time, which I mean, we live in a world where everyone just says things and just instantly it's like, oh, this is the greatest thing of all time. This is the greatest thing of all. So I was just like, all right, let's actually see the movie. But I was pleasantly shocked that it is high and it's still high now.
Yeah. So we're actually about to get into the movie. So like I said, we saw it on March the 3rd with a bunch of people. So what were your thoughts on the movie?
I thought the movie was really good. I really did. The first 20 minutes where you have Bruce Wayne like monologuing about fear, and the first time you see Batman come out of the shadows when he's like, people think I'm in the shadows, but I am the shadows. Like that was really good. And like that fight scene, which you've seen clips of it in the trailer. It's that very first trailer where the guy in the clown face is like, who the hell are you supposed to be? And then you get the I'm vengeance thing. But this Batman movie had the most detective work of any Batman movies. It was mostly a detective movie trying to figure out Zodiac Killer with the Riddler. So that, in that sense, yes, it's the most detective Batman movie we've ever gotten to date. It was a really good movie. I know some people think about like the length of it, like the 2 hours and 55 or whatever, but maybe it's like technically 2:47 with like credits and all that jazz. But we've been doing these 2 hour plus movies for a long time now. And I don't think you can get your story out if your movie's not 2+ hours. Shoot, just thinking of the most recent superhero movie we covered, Spider-Man, No Way Home. I mean, that movie was 2 something, and we still wanted more. Hence why we're getting like 80 hours of deleted content.
That is true. We did want more.
So that's the crazy thing. So I really did like this movie, and we'll talk more about it. But what do you think?
I enjoyed it a lot. I thought like the music, like the Batman theme was great. I've listened to it.
Fantastic theme.
Yes, I've listened to it at least 3 or 4 times since Thursday. Overall, like you said, it was definitely more of a detective Batman movie, which I know a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time. So I was great with that. Everyone did amazing in their roles. Robert Pattinson did great, despite everyone thinking that he was going to do bad because of the whole Twilight stuff. But he did great. Detective Gordon did great. Riddler, Catwoman, everyone did an amazing job in that movie.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson did really well, but no diss. And it's hard because it's like you're the main character. And this happens with almost all Batman movies, but no disrespect to Robert, but the other people were the ones stealing the show. Like you just said, Catwoman, Penguin, who wasn't even a major player, Carmine Falcone, obviously the Riddler, like those people all, and Gordon, he's not commissioner yet, lieutenant. He'll be commissioner probably, then he'll be commissioner in the next movie.
Yeah, for sure.
But Lieutenant Gordon, they all were so great.
Yeah.
And when you have a good supporting cast, that's what makes the movie so much better. Just look at Nolan's stuff. I mean, you look around, sure, Christian Bale is an Oscar-winning actor, Oscar-nominated, yada, yada. You look at a supporting cast, all of them are Oscar-nominated, Oscar-winning. So like the cast members really help the main character in anything you do.
Yeah, you definitely had a lot of A-list celebrities in that movie. Alfred, played by Andy Serkis, a lot, just like I said, a lot of heavy hitters.
And shout out to Andy Serkis, just came from directing Venom 2 to Alfred.
Yeah.
So
did you think it lived up to that pre-release hype that everyone said, oh, this movie's gonna be great? You know, Rotten Tomatoes gave it that 91%. IGN gave it that 10 out of 10. Did you think it lived up to that?
a 10 out of 10 is hard because that's like a perfect movie, and everyone has their different interpretations of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I personally wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. I'd probably give it like an 8.5, but which is, like IGN is typically an 8.5, but I would give this movie an 8.5. But I did think it lived up to the expected hype for everyone who was willing to give the movie a chance, and for everyone who was willing to give Robert Pattinson a chance. If you weren't willing to give him a chance, or you were still, which I mean, to an extent, everyone is still sour, we're not going to probably get the Ben Affleck movie. You probably thought this movie sucked. But if you were willing to give Robert a chance, go in there with open minds, yes, it did live up to general expectations. Now, to the producer of the Batman's expectations, I don't think it lived up to his expectations because, I mean, he went to, which people might not know, that he went up to Christopher Nolan, wherever the song was like, hey, we're coming to beat you guys. So it's not better than The Dark Knight, no, but it is a really good movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's better than The Dark Knight either. But I'm always a fan of healthy competition.
Oh, yeah, I am as well. I can make a case where I don't personally know if it's better than Batman Begins, because Batman Begins is Batman Begins is the top 1A, 1B top origin superhero movies of all time. I flip-flop between that and Iron Man 1.
Both the excellent examples of a superhero origin story. So what was your favorite part of the movie?
Favorite part of the movie? That is tough because I really did like the beginning. Like, the beginning might have been one of my favorite parts of the movie, but I also think any scene where you saw the chemistry between Batman and Catwoman, because they had crazy chemistry. Like, it was, you could tell off the screen. So that was really good too. And also the interrogation with Batman, Gordon, and Penguin, that chemistry, good cop, bad bat, but that was really good too. But those are like certain scenes there where I really liked. How about yourself?
Oh, that's tough because that intro was one of
the best intros.
One of the best intros.
Yeah,
like I said on a podcast before, like the Superman first episode intro was like one of the best superhero intros on TV. I think this is one of the best superhero intros.
Yes,
in movies. So that was hard. I think overall, my favorite part was probably seeing Batman fight because he was so like aggressive, and you haven't really seen like an aggressive Batman like fight like this before.
Yes, I would agree on that. Anytime he fought, he was fighting with more anger and less precision. Like, it weren't like calculated stuff. Like, obviously when you saw in Batman Begins, you saw how that Batman was training, which his fighting technique's actually a real life fighting style. It's called Kenshi. It's like from the heart, where you can use anything. A lot of people didn't like that because he used like his elbows and stuff, but I was like, dude, it doesn't matter. Batman uses anything. But also the way like they cinematographed the fights where you couldn't really see what Batman was doing. But that was the point in the Nolan film, because he's just so quick and blinding to normal people. We wouldn't be able to see what he's doing because you'd already be on the ground. But like, you could hear every punch and like the patents, like every single one. I think one of my favorites is when he showed up to the Iceberg Lounge as Batman first. And he's like, do you know who I am? And then that happened. And then he has to come back as Bruce Wayne. Do you know who I am? Like, so there's a lot. It's just hard to pinpoint like one. If I had to pick one, it'd be the opening.
Okay. Okay. Also another one of my favorite scenes is when I think it was the second time he went to the Iceberg Lounge as Batman and he was fighting and it was a scene where they were shooting him with bullets, but like
that was a very good one. Yes.
Where like every flash you saw like him hitting someone else, then the guns will go off, then guns will go back in, and he'll be like somewhere else. I think that was one of the hardest scenes in the movie. So we got your favorite part of the movie. What didn't you like about the movie?
So I know a lot of people like this scene, but I don't think it's because I was actually watching some of these ones today, and I don't think it's better than what I've seen the past 20 years. I don't want to say I didn't like it, but every Batman movie has like the car scene. Like when the car was revving up, that was really cool and all that jazz. But I don't think that car chase was. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I liked it. I was just watching the BVS car chase, and I liked that one better. And then obviously the first time you see the tumbler in the Dark Knight, and the first one in Batman Begins, the second car chase in the Dark Knight when the tumbler takes a bazooka and you see the bat pod jump out. That's something. Even the Dark Knight Rises one is when Batman first comes out of retirement, is going against the whole police force and flies away in the bat. Like those, I was like, oh, okay, these car scenes. Like this one, I was just like, I like it, but it's not like I'm not hyping up like everyone else was. Like, oh yeah, this is the greatest Batmobile. I was like, I don't know, I wouldn't even say that, but
yeah, I mean the car chase was cool. I like the end of the car.
The end of the car chase was the best part of the car chase, which was the problem.
Yeah, because when he just flies, he's like flying through fire, and then we see Penguin upside down, then him walking towards Penguin, just like.
With the music playing and the fire in the back. That was the best part of it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see what my least favorite part of it was. I think
there's some other stuff I didn't like in the movie, though, but I can understand why I got sacrificed.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing is I'm always a big fan of like the ending fight scene, like superhero versus villain. And we didn't really get that in this movie. Yeah. So that's my biggest part of that I didn't like about this movie.
Yeah, he took on those fake the people who got from his freaking Twitch, basically. Right. Because Riddler's whole thing was exposing all the corruption, then he was going to turn himself in and then have other people carry his work. So it's like, okay, we don't even get to see those two go at it. You can see him in the interrogation, but there's no physicality, and we're just fighting random people at the end, but I understand. I understand.
So Batman Begins made 373.7 million in its run. Do you think the Batman can make it in its run? Do you think it can make up the least 375 million?
It'll make that in the first 2 weeks. Also what people need to understand with superhero movies, like at that time, 337 was a lot of money in 2005. And also people need to remember how Batman Begins was coming right after George Clooney's movie. So a lot of people didn't want to go see Batman because they had sour taste in their mouth about George Clooney's movie. So once word got out, that was like, oh, this movie is actually really good. Because if you look at, I think I actually had it up, like highest grossing like superhero movies of the 2000s. Like 2000, the highest grossing was X-Men, the original one. That was that was 296 million.
Wow.
Like 2001, which I guess they count as a superhero movie, Spy Kids, 147 million. Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's a big deal, and shout out to a GOAT, Tobey Maguire, that had 825 million. That would be fine in today's time.
Yeah.
But then you just go back to 2003, X-Men 2, which is one of the best superhero movies out there, 407 million. Then Spider-Man 2 made 788. Batman Begins, like you said, the 373. Then 2006, X-Men Last Stand, 460. So like these numbers back then, it's all different than what we are now. Because superhero movies did not change until 2008, where The Dark Knight, first superhero movie ever to make $1 billion. And the thing is, people forget that in 2008, there was another superhero movie that came out that has caused a chain of events. That movie was called Iron Man. That movie only made like 500 something. And that's successful back then in 2008. So like The Dark Knight made as much money in the USA as Iron Man did in its whole like theatrical run.
That's crazy.
So, and then like you just jump from 1 billion in 08 to 373 for X-Men Origins Wolverine. And that's how you end the decade of the 2000 to 2009. So yeah, it'll make it in probably the next couple of weeks because things are so different. You see how these big companies know superhero movies make money. If you promote it enough, you get the Twitters, everything, you go on the talk shows, all that jazz, you're going to make the money as long as it's decent and it has a great fan following. Because I think currently right now it made 21 on Thursday, 55 million today. Like this weekend, I'll probably end around 120, 150 million. So easily beat it just because that's the times we're in. I mean, look at Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame made 1.2 billion in the first week.
That's true. I always forget about that because everyone wants to see like the ending of the.
If you have enough hype around anything, like especially these superhero movies. This movie will. Now, I saw your next thing is like about making $1 billion. I think it should. I know they're pulling out from Russia because of the events that are going on there, but I think they're also going to be in China. So they should, if everything holds serve, make $1 billion, which would be a great accomplishment. Like I said, before 2008, these movies were not making like $1 billion like that. Like from 2008, Dark Knight made $1 billion. We don't get another $1 billion movie. We actually got 2 in 2012 with Avengers 1 and The Dark Knight Rises. And then you go from there. Then Iron Man 3 made $1 billion just because it was the first movie after the Avengers. You want to see what's going on. Then you don't have like another one till Avengers 2. And then like from the DC standpoint, after The Dark Knight Rises, they don't get $1 billion movie until Aquaman, which was years ago. So you see that gap. Like it's hard to do if your movie is not well received.
Yeah, go
ahead.
I think it can make $1 billion because, like you said, like the promotion for it has been great. Like Twitter, like every other tweet is about the Batman now that's came out. So I think it can make $1 billion.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I wouldn't be surprised if it got to 800, whatever, 900. I don't know if it'll make the same amount of money as Spider-Man. That's gonna be a stretch because obviously Spider-Man had all 3 Spider-Man in it. The movie was just fantastic. Now that would be a stretch, but it could come close. But we'll have to wait and see because Spider-Man's like it's closer to 2 billion than it is to 1 billion right now.
Yeah, Spider-Man has made a lot of money because, like you said, everyone wanted to see all 3 Spider-Man together, like the multiverse. It's did its thing. So kudos to Spider-Man No Way Home. So I know like a lot of people have compared Paul Dano's performance of the Riddler to Heath Ledger's Joker. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
I don't know if I want to say fair. I get it because obviously Heath Ledger won an Oscar for his role as the Joker. But so if you're comparing it to that, you think Paul is potentially up for an Oscar, which I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think he did really well. But like comparing it to Heath or saying that he wasn't better than Heath Ledger. That's just no. But I do think it was really a really good performance and one of the better villain performances we've had in a bit.
Oh yeah, he was in his bag the entire movie. Like there wasn't like one scene where he didn't like steal the scene because his performance was great. Like I don't think he's better than Heath Ledger's at all. Heath Ledger's Joker performance is just legendary and like a class in its own, but definitely Paul Dano was in his bag that entire movie. Like that first scene where he shows up and he's just like standing there, you just like automatically get like these creepy vibes. And then one other scene, like just playing pure psychotic, and it is just a great performance.
I will say this though, which I'm going to ask you. He didn't get enough screen time. The first time I'd say didn't get enough screen time in his movie, but probably one of the most impactful villains that we've seen in a movie in a short amount of time. What about Zack Snyder's Dark Side?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Don't get me started.
I personally think in the few scenes that he got to be in, I really like this Riddler's performance, all that jazz. But none of the stuff he did sent chills through my spine than Ready the Armada.
That line will forever live in infamy. That scares me because like if we ever do get more of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Armada is coming in. I don't know if we can stop it.
Like if we would have got more of him, I think he would have been the best villain we've had in a long time. Like his voice was just so commanding. Like, but no, Paul did really well. He did really, really well.
Definitely was, like I said, was in his bag the entire time. Wow. And then that end scene with just like him and the interrogation, like you really thought he was about to, like he knew Batman's identity and was about to expose Batman in the first movie, which would have been insane. But
so I actually want to bring something up about that because there's actually a lot of, because we're getting near where these are spoilers, like we've already said, there's a lot of different things that this movie is pulled from Batman mythos and video games and all that stuff. The reason I thought Riddler knew who he was, obviously the scene where they had the board and like who's the Batman, like circling Bruce Wayne and all that. In Arkham Origins, Batman is in a similar type place when he's investigating Bane. The same type of thing, like pictures of Bruce Wayne, who's Batman, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, this is like Arkham Origins. He knows who he is. And it's funny, too, how Arkham Origins is set in Batman's second year of being Batman, same as this one. So that's when I saw that board, I thought of Arkham Origins, 2 years. I was like, ooh, this is bad because has who was Batman circled to like a picture of Bruce Wayne walking. I was like, oh boy. But spoiler, he does not know. He was just saying that because that was the one person he did not get to take out.
So next question. You alluded to this earlier, but Matt Reeves, came up to Christopher Nolan, said that he's trying to be.
It wasn't Matt. It was Matt's boss.
Oh, it was Matt's boss. Oh, I thought it was Matt Reeves this whole time.
No, it was his boss.
Wow. So Matt Reeves' boss said to Christopher Nolan that he's trying to be the best Batman ever made, and that he's trying to beat him. So off this movie alone,
no.
Do you think it can?
No. But yeah, I'll gift you his boss's name. Producer Dylan Clark.
Dylan Clark, all right.
Yeah, he went and was like, look, we're trying to be the best Batman movie ever made. And we're going to try and beat you. And like Matt Reeves into pushing his character emotional depths, yada, yada. But no, I don't. Here, and this is for the Batman fans out there who instantly like, oh, yeah, this is the best movie ever, yada, yada, yada. And they think of like the past stuff. You got to think of it like sports. Like, we'll do NFL. Like some of these quarterbacks are throwing for ridiculous numbers now because things have changed. Like things of like that nature. And I like this quarterback, and this because I see his hoodie. I like this quarterback a lot, like Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen right now, he's doing really good, yada, yada, yada. Do I think he's better than like 2009 Drew Brees? No.
My guy.
like stuff like that. This movie was very good. It's obviously on the upper end of better Batman movies made. Probably is definitely in the top 5. But no, it's not currently right now the best Batman movie ever. No.
Do you think so let's say if it got 2 more sequels like the Dark Knight trilogy did, do you think it could potentially beat them?
Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, I think it could potentially beat them. The problem is that it shows how good that trilogy is because that trilogy ended 10 plus years ago.
And people are still talking about it as the best trilogy ever.
Yeah, and it could beat them, but nothing, as we say in the culture, nothing will have changed the culture of superhero movies forever than The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something like you could have a better movie, but you're not going to change the culture like they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we had longer time, that movie was up for 100 something awards, and I could list them. Like if we had more time, I could list every award they were up for. But let's just go to the Oscars. They were up for 8 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
8 Oscars, won 2, got snubbed from Best Picture, which caused an uproar in 2008 because The Dark Knight should have been nominated for Best Picture. Like you'll never have a movie where it was the highest grossing movie of the year, the highest grossing in the United States, critically acclaimed, nominated for 8 Oscars and won 2. That will never happen again. Just look at all the Marvel movies. Like they're typically the highest grossing movies of the year, but they're not getting all nominated for Oscars like that. Some do for like the designs of like wardrobes and music.
Music, yep.
But none of them are getting nominated for 8 and winning 2 and should have been nominated for 9. And I haven't even talked about like the Golden Globes and all that stuff. Like that's the thing. Nothing will change the culture like that because that showed Hollywood, oh my God, these superhero movies, if we make them, we can make $1 billion. Like this is something we have to take serious.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we don't have the MCU if it isn't for this. We don't have any of this stuff if it wasn't for this. Because if this was unsuccessful, superhero movies get pushed back to now. We're probably getting Batman Begins now.
True.
And also with The Dark Knight, shoot, 94 Rotten Tomatoes, 94 audience score. I mean, like nothing will change the culture like that movie. But I'm sure, like, I wouldn't be surprised. It could happen, but it all depends now. Is the problem with a really good movie is you're expected to do really good in the second one.
And usually sequels don't do as well as the original.
Except The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yeah.
You think of The Dark Knight. I was trying to think, too, like when I was doing all this research for what are the best, like, I was thinking about trilogies and all that stuff. So obviously, Dark Knight's better than Batman Begins, but Batman Begins is really good. Winter Soldier is a lot better than the first Avenger. That is the best movie in Captain America's trilogy by far.
That's true.
And first Avenger was really good, but the same, like Iron Man 2 was not better than Iron Man 1. Thor 2, a lot of people hate Thor 2, was not better than
Thor 1.
Thor 1. So you're looking at those things like you got to perform when you have expectations now.
Another movie that people love more than the original is Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 is better than
everyone loves Spider-Man 1. Everyone loves Spider-Man 2 more than Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, it's really hard when you have expectations now. Because if you can't live up to the expectations, they're going to come at you.
Yeah, that's true. I'd be very interesting to see, if they get a sequel, which I think they probably will, depending on, if this movie does make $1 billion.
They said within the next 5 years. Which I think that's wow.
Yeah, that's wow.
That's what their boss said. They're like, whatever. I know Robert's got some stuff going on, but they said expect a sequel in the next 5 years.
All right. Well, the next 5 years, we'll probably have a Batman episode on that movie.
Yeah. I mean,
because I know a rumor they're trying to do the Court of Owls in the sequel, which I would love to see because one, Gotham Knights hasn't came out yet. Because they're supposed to do Court of Owls and Gotham Knights. So I know they had at the end of the movie they had a Joker tease, but then they came out and said, "Oh, well, we're gonna do Court of Owls." Would you rather see? Would you rather see the Joker or a Court of Owls?
So, I mean, we could, like we said, spoilers. It's not a tease. It is Joker at the end, next to the Riddler's thing, and I know you have his name. He's from Eternals, who's going to be playing the Joker.
Yeah, Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, Barry Keoghan, which funny story. He was moonlighting. All his scenes were like officer something there. because they didn't want it to get spoiled.
Yeah.
And Matt Reeves has confirmed that, it's going to be like Joker's there. So here's the thing. This movie, which, again, I didn't even say, this movie is centered around corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is corrupt, yada, yada. How everyone got to the top, Falcone's, everyone's corrupt. So the Court of Owls would make sense because they are Gotham's elite of the elite, and they are really the ones who run Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
My problem now is, though, which breaking news for people who might not have caught it, there actually is an end credit scene to the Batman. I don't know if you know that, but here we go. Breaking the end credit scene. When you see that Riddler thing,
mm-hmm.
you're supposed to go type that site onto your computer.
Oh.
So breaking news to everyone, there is an end credit scene. If you didn't stay, you type that site into the computer, you get a video of Thomas Wayne, like the mayor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you get a Hush thing. So now people are saying it's going to be Hush. And the reason that too is because the reporter, which that's there's their own mythos. The reporter who in the movie that was going to report that Martha was in Arkham, had mental health issues, all that jazz. His last name is Elliot. Elliot is the last name of Thomas Elliot, who used to be Bruce Wayne's childhood friend, who becomes a world famous surgeon, who becomes Hush, one of Bruce Wayne's worst enemies. So now if we're doing on that thing, and this Riddler, guys, this is their own interpretation. He became who he was because of like the renewal and Bruce Wayne's dad and them like all being part of this corruption and him getting killed. And then he becomes the Riddler because he wants to get back all these people. You could have the same thing where Bruce is doing sins of his father because of Thomas Wayne. You got Thomas Elliot's dad killed, and then he becomes Hush, and we have the Hush storyline.
So the funny thing is though, like when they mention like the whole Edward Elliot, I was like, oh, is Riddler actually Thomas Elliot, aka Hush? So I thought that's where they were going to go with this movie. But I definitely didn't know that the website was centered around Hush, which would be.
It's funny how you brought the Riddler being Hush, because in the Batman animated Hush movie that came out a couple of years ago, they changed that and Riddler was Hush.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, so that's a interesting thing too. And the reason that people get hyped more for Hush is because obviously, like, that's another psychological battle, because Hush would find out who Batman is. That would also push Batman and Catwoman's relationship even further, because in the Hush storyline, that's when Bruce Wayne reveals to Catwoman who he is. So then you're on a first name basis with that, which that was in one of my notes, that I did like how they established the Bat and the Cat's relationship in the beginning of however many movies they're doing. Because now you don't have to like zoom through it. I mean, that was one of the things with The Dark Knight Rises. Obviously, like they were doing his two most prevalent love interests at the same time.
Yeah. With
Talia and Selena. This one, you started off early, so then you have it throughout. You have that rapport and all that stuff. And obviously Hush's stuff. You had Poison Ivy in there, Brainwash. Superman's not going to be in this trilogy. I'm just going to stop that for anyone who thinks the way they're doing it right now. We can't even get a confirmed Superman in the DCEU right now. So we're not going to have one in Matt Reeves' stuff. So I would like Hush. You could do Hush and the Court of Owls together if you wanted to. If you're going to keep the 2 hour, 50-some minutes, you can do Hush and the Court of Owls if you wanted to. The Joker thing, though, that's going to be tough because expectations, you either fall to pressure or you rise above it. The past two people who played Jokers have won Oscars for their roles as Joker.
Yep.
That's a problem if you're trying to be Joker. Because if you're not up for an Oscar, you were bad. That's the precedent the past two have set. And I'll say it now. I did not like Jared Leto's Joker in the original Suicide Squad. But if we would have had more of We Live in a Society Joker, from Zack Snyder's Justice League, he potentially could have been up too.
Yes.
So I'm going to give an asterisk to him. You go Heath, Oscar. Joaquin, Oscar. It's tough out there being Joker.
Yeah, it really is, because I know a lot of people did not like Jared Leto's Joker in
he got
Suicide Squad. One, because again, director didn't get his full story out, which we've talked about ad nauseum. So I feel like if he had got more what David Ayer wanted, he might have been a top Joker, because I like Jared Leto as an actor. I think he's a phenomenal actor.
He's an Oscar-winning actor too.
Yep, can't wait to see him in Morbius. But
with
the reshoots,
he was also after Heath. That was the problem.
That's true too.
You got 50-50.
That's but with the reshoots of Zack Snyder and adding that Joker element on, that he was great in the future as a future Joker.
Yeah, so, and I also think with Barry, real life Barry, not Barry Allen for the people out there, but his issue is he's still alive in the Eternals.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we got Eternals 2 coming up, or we're going to have Neniju cameo in Guardians 3. So if they're going to do Joker and he's going to be the main villain, they have to be conscious of when he's doing Marvel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why a lot of people, that's why you don't, well, he's not a big role in Eternals, but he's still a role. But if they're doing a movie based on Batman and the Joker, he's going to be the biggest role. So it's like, you can't have those two clash.
Yeah.
Hence why you hire schedulers and like they're the ones who do all that communicating.
Well, it'd be very interesting to see.
What would you want?
I personally would want the Court of Owls, because we've seen Joker in Batman movies. I like fresh takes on villains, or villains we haven't ever seen before. So I think I would rather see the Court of Owls than Joker.
The Court of Owls have never been done on the big screen.
Yeah.
The past villains that we've had, like we just had with Riddler and Penguin, they were obviously whole different takes. But we haven't had these characters since Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer era, George Clooney era. My thing with the way, if they're doing this, if they're gonna, Joker will eventually be the bad. If they're gonna do 3 movies, which would probably be the third finale one, but they could do Court of Owls and Hush, mix whatever, because they're doing their own interpretation. Second movie. The third movie to end the trilogy, depending on how far this Bruce Wayne is, they can do The Killing Joke. The One Bad Day, yada yada, and they could do that with the Gordon. Then obviously got to get like a Barbara and all that jazz, but that's what they can do. My thing with, if you're gonna reimagine these old villains from like Keaton down Kilmer days, one who would get a fantastic, like people really feel bad for him empathy wise, would be a Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
because he's just trying to save his dying wife. I mean, that one would be really, really good. But Court of Owls, I mean, all those, Court of Owls and Hush are my top picks for the second movie, and then third movie you can do Joker or whatever and figure that out. So there also was some stuff with, now talking about it, the ending of the parts. So there's that ending pulled, and this story too pulled from a whole bunch of different things, like I said. So like the ending, long story short, I don't know, man. I kind of think Riddler won. Like he kind of, besides being in jail, like the dude blew up, the dude caved the city in. Yeah,
it's Gotham is underwater.
So he made that No Man's Land. People don't know, No Man's Land was a 1999 Batman story where earthquake basically shut Gotham in. No one could get in, no one could get out. And we're talking about the Court of Owls, the people who invented the Court of Owls, Scott Schneider, Greg Capullo, GOAT, comic writers and artists. Batman 0 Year was that start of the New 52 Batman. And Riddler, funny enough, was the main bad guy in that movie, and he cut off electricity. So the city was just no man's land again. And that's Batman's second year of being Batman, so trying to deal with that. So I like that parallel a lot. And there was also one thing I didn't like from the movie, which goes to Batman Year 2 and Arkham Origins. The Bruce Alfred relationship was not good at all.
Yeah.
And I know that's how like Year 2 and Zero Year and Arkham Origins, like it was rocky, then obviously gets better and better and better. But I was like, damn, that was one thing I was just like, there wasn't enough Alfred in the movie. But I get it because they had to sacrifice the time with Alfred for like Selina and Gordon. I expect a lot more Alfred in the next coming movies. And then if you even look at The Dark Knight Rises, I mean, that was a nuke. Like Bane blew up all communication. He blew up all the bridges. You weren't getting in. Like Gotham was no man's land then too. And there was a nuke in the city. Like you were gonna get smoked. And then Arkham City, I mean, you're on an island full of criminals because you're caved in. And then The Dark Knight Returns also there was a nuclear explosion and everyone was cut off from power. So there was martial law. So that was stuff from like the ending. But the no man's land is where they're at now because you can't get in, can't get out. They're flooded.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that in the sequel. I mean, I know at the end of the movie you saw Penguin like at the top of his tower. Well, top of Carmen Falcone's tower.
It's going to be his now. He sees opportunity.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see him in the second movie?
I think that Penguin will be to that, however many movies they're doing, to what Scarecrow was to the Dark Knight trilogy. Because he was in all three movies.
He was.
And I think Penguin will be in all three movies because now Penguin's about to rise up. You had that scene where Falcone basically called him a scrub. And now Iceberg Lounge is about to be truly all his and popping. He's going to take over Falcone. He's going to be the top dude out there. Like weapons wise, like money wise. It's like Arkham Origins says, not a dollar changes hands in Gotham that Penguin doesn't know about.
So that'll be interesting to see too if he is like the Scarecrow of this new Batman trilogy.
If they get a trilogy, got to get to that point too. And with DC's history, if someone drops,
yeah.
So,
and I know they are going to do a Batman TV show.
Might be two
on HBO Max. Have we heard like any like story of what that's going to be? If it's continuing like year 2, or is it like a prequel to this movie?
Actually, correction. There might be 3.
Oh, 3.
3. One confirmed is going to be about Gordon, the police force.
Okay.
So we're going to see Gordon. We'll probably see his rise to being Commissioner Gordon. Okay. So that's confirmed. Second one about Arkham Asylum. So that could be interesting where if we see the villains who are already in there, if Batman keeps catching them, seeing all that stuff happen. And then the third one potentially would be a Catwoman one with Zoe Kravitz doing like a Catwoman one. And that's something too, like when I talk about like, if you're going to talk about these superhero movies, you have to put them all in full context. Back then, not even back then, like 5-6 years ago, these things weren't possible that you can continue a series, like a movie's stuff on a streaming service.
Yeah, true.
Like this was not possible back then. Marvel, they had whole different shows, obviously on Netflix, and we're big. We get huge things about how they just never acknowledge those shows.
Yeah. But
now, obviously, when Marvel got Disney Plus, they're like, we can have our movies and continue the movies and stuff with these shows that people are going to binge. So now that's what everyone's doing. HBO Max, that's what DC's going to be doing. Like we didn't have these different things. I only wish we had these things back then, like in a Nolan trilogy, or if Marvel used it back then. Like, can you imagine like after the first Avengers, we're actually seeing how many more missions the Avengers do together? Because Avengers 2, their teamwork was so good. We're like, okay, what missions have y'all been doing that your teamwork is solid? So we didn't have that stuff back then, and now we do. So yeah, those are the one's going to be confirmed. The Gordon ones, I'm pretty sure confirmed. The other 2 are rumored.
The Arkham one would definitely be interesting to see because I'm thinking of, I believe it was Arkham Origins where we got to see Harleen Quinzel eventually become Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be cool if they did an Arkham series and we like followed her character around from like beginning to her becoming Harley Quinn.
Rumor actually, I'm just dropping all these things for everyone. Breaking news. Rumor is that I'm blanking on her name, but the main character from Queen's Gambit, rumored to be potentially Harley Quinn in this.
Oh,
Anya
Taylor-Joy.
Mm-hmm. Rumor right now.
Okay.
Potentially Dr. Harleen Quinzel.
Interesting. She's a great actress, so
yes,
definitely would love to see her.
And Queen's Gambit really put her on the map. So
yep,
that is something too. I also want to talk about the Waynes and the corruption, center of the film. So that is one, candidly, guys, it's not true. I mean, that's Thomas and Martha were not corrupt. Let's just get that out of the way. In this version, Martha was not a Kane, who shout out to the Kane family. That's where Batwoman comes from. She was an Arkham. And Arkham Asylum, obviously, no, for the mentally ill and unstable. She had mental health problems. And obviously, this was going to come out during Thomas Wayne's campaign, which I kind of have issues with. Actually, that reporter, Elliot, because it's like, that has nothing to do with Thomas. And you're just going to put this girl's personal business out there. Hence why a reason why a lot of people don't go into politics, because you put everyone else, your family and stuff can get in there. So obviously he paid Falcone, hey, make this go away. He didn't know Falcone was going to kill him. And he was going to turn himself in. And obviously we get Riddler. So now if you go to another video game series, the Batman Telltale video game series, let me just read some stuff and see if you guys think this is familiar. Comes out that Thomas and Martha Wayne had affiliations with the Falcone family and how a group of people hated now the Waynes because they felt left behind, and a villain grew named Lady Arkham, who wanted to systematically destroy the Falcones and the Waynes, and because they were orphans at Arkham Asylum.
That sounds like the Batman.
And this time, and it was someone who Lady Arkham was actually Vicky Vale, famous reporter in Gotham. So that is crazy too. And then you also get a introduction of Batman meeting Selina Kyle in the first Batman Telltale. And that one, they were able to deduce the secret identities of the other because Bruce Wayne had a scar in the same place, which the Batman had from Catwoman. So there you go. So it's interesting how you can just pull from a whole different things and change it. So obviously, same thing here. Bruce Wayne has to reinvigorate his family's name. Like his family's name is Pooh Butt right now because of all the stuff that came out. So he has to bring it back up. And that's what Bruce Wayne here is going to have to do. And I would also want to say, too, which we can get a lot of things, because this movie also pulls from The Long Halloween, except it wasn't a killer on every holiday, but we were getting killings and all of that. But also, the DA's dead. We obviously got a new mayor who I thought she was getting smoked at the end. For sure. So now the DA's dead. And now the commissioner's obviously like Gordon's going to move up. Now that DA spot's open, that's where you can insert a Harvey Dent. You could. So then you really got the three again. Harvey taking them out on the law, Gordon arresting them legally, and then Batman dropping them off. Then you have the trifecta again. That would be very cool if they added, like in the confirmed TV show, if they added a Harvey Dent character. That'd be good for Gordon's show. Yep. And then the end of the season finale of that show is like, hey, can I finally meet him? And then that's when you meet a Batman. And then you got that group going. Because then that opens the door for a Two-Face. I mean, you open the door for a Two-Face situation happening. So you can implement all of those different things. There's a lot of possibilities. It'll be interesting to see where they go. Now they got streaming services, so they could do, if they don't want to put in the movie, they could do 800 shows. Yeah, you can have multiple seasons of anything you wanted, as long as it's doing well. I mean, Catwoman's going to Bloodhaven. You can see something where Catwoman has to be the Nightwing, because Nightwing, that obviously he's not in this like stuff now, but Nightwing's base of operations when he's grown up is Bloodhaven.
Mm-hmm.
Catwoman is going to Bloodhaven. So she could technically be the protector there now. And that's
as soon as I saw her, she's like, I'm going to Bloodhaven. I was like, ooh, Nightwing.
yeah, I don't know if we'll have Robin and stuff like that, but she could be the Nightwing of that place.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things they could do. Definitely cool that there were so many like comics and video games and other stories that they pull from to make this movie as good as it is. Because like some of that stuff, I don't know because I don't read like Batman comics as much as you do because you're our resident Batman expert. So it's cool to find out like No Man's Land had a tie into the comics. There's a lot of interesting stuff in that movie.
Yeah, they pulled from a whole bunch of things too. Just like, and it really felt like Arkham Origins to me because Bruce and Gordon's relationship isn't really good at all until like the end. And it's 2 years. And like Vicky Vale's like, dude, you've been back for 2 years. You can't tell me like you just live under a rock, which basically this is what this Batman's been doing. You can't live under a rock and people not start putting the pieces together. You got to be out there sometimes.
Yeah, and this version, he definitely has been a recluse movie because, like, in the scene, the funeral scene for the commissioner, everyone's like, "Oh, Bruce is here. Bruce is here. We haven't seen him in forever." So it'll be interesting to see if in the second movie he's out more trying to, save his family's name.
And speaking of Arkham Origins, watch out for now with Falcone gone. Obviously, I said Penguin's going to be on the rise. Watch out for a Mr. Roman Sionis to take over too.
Black Mask?
Watch out for a Black Mask. I'm just saying, watch out. Potentially.
He's a bad one too. He's a good villain. Good. They did him well in the Batwoman show too.
I do also want to say, currently, right now, the Batman is the 4th highest rated Rotten Tomato Batman movie.
I'm assuming Dark Knight's first.
Dark Knight's first. Lego Batman movies 2.
Okay.
Dark Knight Rises is at an 87. The Batman's at an 85. And Batman Begins is at an 80. It always differentiates from 84 to 85. So, yeah. It's up there. It's up there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Any final things you want to say?
Yeah, I would tell everyone go see the movie. I know we spoiled a whole bunch of stuff, but there's still a lot that we didn't even talk about that you got to see. Like, see the acting. Everyone did really well in this movie. If you're one of those people who only see Marvel movies or only see DC movies, I really don't understand you because a good superhero movie is better for everybody because that means everyone gets to eat that money because there's enough superhero movie to go around. Hell, I just told you in 2012, 2 superhero movies made $1 billion. So when a superhero movie does bad, that does bad for all of us. When a superhero movie does good, that means we're going to keep getting more of these because they run the cinemas now. So definitely go check it out. Let us know what you think about the Batman. And don't worry, we'll probably be back our next month one. We have a whole bunch to cover from a whole bunch of superhero stuff because this is our first superhero pod. We have a whole bunch of Arrowverse stuff. I mean, we're gonna have Morbius. By then we'll have like the new Avengers update. So we will be covering a whole bunch of stuff coming up. And as always, man, just keep listening to us. We appreciate y'all. If you have any Batman questions, leave them in the comments.
Right. We got our Batman expert here. He'll definitely answer all of your questions because that's what he loves to do. He loves talking about the Batman for hours. Definitely go see this movie. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, go see it again. Treat yourself because it's a excellent movie. As always, thank you for listening. Check out our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Discord. We're everywhere. We all love interacting with fans. So, like, rate, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. This is the L7C signing out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.